Hi, everyone, and welcome to this recording today. I have invited Jeffrey Louis Martinez.
Got it. You get 4 stars.
I practiced the last name. Welcome, welcome.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. And just in a little pre-talk, I could already feel such a deep connection with you. You have such a radiant soul, and you've already kind of created an environment for me to feel very comfortable and at ease with you. So I acknowledge you for that, and I thank you so much for having me on the show.
I love to have you on the show. These moments we talk was so beautiful, and you are a transformative coach and spirit mentor and inspirational content creator. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I tell you, you're batting 2 for 2. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I've been a coach. I'm a certified coach. Have my master's in spiritual psychology from the University of Santa Monica in Los Angeles. Multi-certified coach as well. And then so I've been coaching full time for 8 years. And then for 7 years, I've been running a very popular inspirational / spiritual / pop culture blog called The New Age Nerd. And it's been read, I'm very humbled, it's been read by a little over 1 million people around the world. So I think we're up to a little over 1,000 posts on it. So I'm sure she'll put a link down maybe on the YouTube channel for anyone who wants to check it out. You can also go to my Facebook page. Every single day, I post about 15 to 20 inspirational, motivational, awe-inspiring posts, and a big community. I think this is actually where you found me.
Yeah, because I read a lot of them. They are popping out all the time to my Facebook, and also Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I need to get back to doing the Instagram.
So I used to read them, and it resonates with me all the time. So I love them.
Well, I'll tell you again. On this note, this is another message I would really like to get out to people. Our world is in a very precarious state right now. We all know it. Everything from social injustice to poverty to the threat of not only nuclear war, but the coming problems with artificial intelligence, to one of the things that I'm most concerned about, which is a global disruption. And I think that we unfortunately have gotten into a horrible, horrible vibrational offering of apathy. There's too many people who have been lulled into this false sense that there's nothing they can do. So they're going through life with blinders on and what I call this punch in and punch out mentality. When, here's the thing, you don't have to do grand, big, time or money investing things to change this world. It is the smallest of gestures that keeps the darkness of this world at bay. I promise you that. And here is proof in that pudding. So some people, when I first started posting on Facebook, doing 15, 20, sometimes if I find them, 25 posts a day. And again, they're not selfies. I don't post things of, I just had this McDonald's hamburger. Look at it. And for those that do that, hey, more power to you. But I said, maybe this can be a vertical. And when I first started doing it, I had friends call me up and they're like, Jeff, are you feeling okay? And I'm like, yeah, why? And they're like, because in the last 4 days, you've posted 100 posts on Facebook. And I'm like, yeah. So in the last week alone, and I'm not saying this, I'm humbled by it, I've received 5 messages. In fact, I got one when I woke up this morning, private DMs. The one this morning was, check this out, we'll tell her name. She lost 10 family members during COVID. 10. She is still suffering from a suicidal depression. It's almost tear me up. And she sent me a DM this morning saying that last night she was near suicidal. And she came across my Facebook page just happenstance and spent 2 hours, she said, going and reading all my posts, and it inspired her, and she said gave her hope. And that's the second just this week that I received from someone who told me they were going to commit suicide until they got to my Facebook posts.
Wow.
And so my point in that is, well, yeah, and my point to that is someone could look and say, I spend about 45 minutes a day looking for these posts and posting them. And someone, might say, well, what is that really going to do in the bigger scheme of the world? Every single day almost now, and now I'm getting a bigger following every single day. I'm getting posts from people who are just saying, thank you so much. This has changed my life. This has done that. Small gestures of just, even doing Facebook posts. So what I would love to convene, if nothing else, on the segment here today is if everyone watching this could stop in their own life and think, what is one thing, just one thing that I can do? My being super heroic, love, serve, inspire is the motto of my company. So what is one thing that I can do, a new habit that I can start to love, serve, or inspire? Because think about the change, the rapid change. If we even got 20% of the world overnight to do that, can't you even feel it in your heart and soul of the change that would make if we all got out of our own head of making money, getting ahead, and instead got outside yourself and said, what can I do to serve others, even in the smallest of gestures? Because that is how we're going to keep the oncoming darkness that is here and it's coming. That's how we're going to keep it at bay.
That's so simple and so meaningful. And what I saw when I was in a really bad shape was that it wasn't the methods that helped me. It was someone who cared for me and were sitting together with me and talked to me and don't talk all the time about the problems. Mm-hmm. Because I was up in my head and I had these problems going on all the time. So I needed to get a rest from that.
Of course.
So that was very hopeful when someone didn't talk about that all the time. They talked about something out in life, something other things that wasn't problem. Because I thought that when I was sitting there in the therapy and we were talking all the time about feelings and emotions and I got the feeling like one day I went to that therapy and we were talking about all kinds of emotion that can really feel bad. And when we were happy when we went in that room, but when we came out, every one of us was really sad. It's like a funeral. We had talking about these emotions and how it feels to have all these feelings, and so I get really sad. So I went back to my apartment and cried, and I saw the others, they did that too. So then I knew that wasn't hopeful. That wasn't any help.
Well, I hear you. And therapy is great. I've been in therapy on and off my entire life. But one thing I've learned is you cannot think your way out of depression. And I think sometimes, if that resonates with you, I think sometimes that's what happens in some therapies, is trying to get to that point where you're just thinking about emotions, thinking about things. And that's not really the way to do it. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it the small gestures of those people who sat with you and got you out of that mindset into this other? I bet you look upon them now and they're heroes to you. Am I right?
Yeah. And it was so simple. It was simplicity. That's why I point to that word all the time, simplicity, because it is so simple that you step away from the problems. It's not that you're not going to listen to the person who's feeling very sad, but you don't have to go and be there in that problems. you can talk about other things. You can listen, but you can start to talk about other things. So you change a little bit, change the way to look. Because the person that are in the depression and in their thoughts are having all this by themselves. So they need to get a rest from that, to let mind just relax a little.
Absolutely. And as we talked off camera a little bit, this kind of circles back to one of my big beliefs, which is that, in life, pain is guaranteed, but suffering is optional. And, again, I suffer from depression, so I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to lessen people, especially maybe some people who are watching this that are suffering from it. But I think one thing that I could offer to you in your own time, I believe everyone deserves the dignity of their own spiritual process. So it's going to be different, look different for everybody. But the second that you can find some meaning in your suffering, the suffering slowly starts to go from suffering into pain. And human beings that manifest into the human condition, we're built for pain, but we're not built for suffering. So for instance, with me, I like to say that I've gone down what I call the buffet line of life. There's not too many things that I have not been able to put on my plate, or desserts that I have not been able to try that life dishes up to us. So everything from parental abandonment to various forms of abuse. I have 3 different serious chronic illnesses, plus I've suffered from depression. So the one thing that really changed my life forever was when I read a book by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. Any of you out there who have not read that, it's one of my top 10 favorite books. And it was written by a gentleman who actually was in the Holocaust. And he was fortunate enough to survive it, but he lost most of his family members. And it was, as you can imagine, more than a profound experience. And so when he got out of the Holocaust, he ended up getting his doctorate and becoming a professional psychiatrist. And his big thing, that's his big claim to fame, is man's search for meaning. And so he was the one actually that helped to plant that seed in my mind that it's, once we find that meaning in the suffering. So for me, once I got to that moment of understanding that things happen for you and through you, not to you, because to you is victim consciousness. But the second that you can understand that, I was like, oh my gosh, everything that happened exactly the way it needed to be so that I could serve. Because deep down inside, I always knew that that's what my calling was. But as we all do, life happens, this, that, and the other. But it was this moment. I actually was suicidal one night about 15 years ago. I literally fell to my knees and I did the God, I'm let go. I'm letting go and letting you. And I wept and I wept and I wept. And all of a sudden, a book that had been on my bookshelf called The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. I had heard about this, and because I love film and the power of story so much, so many of my friends said, Jeff, you've got to get into Joseph Campbell. But I had never read the book. And I kid you not, that after weeping that night, I got up, went to my bed, that book fell off the shelf. Now, I don't know, I want to get into so much supernatural stuff, but I've definitely had a few. And that was one of the most profound because I went over, I picked it up, and I spent the rest of the night reading that book. And it is all, for all of you who are not familiar with Joseph Campbell, it's all about the hero's journey, that the privilege of a lifetime is being you, because in the history of the world, the trillions of people that have walked this planet, no one has been given your exact set of adversity, your exact set of gifts and wisdom to overcome that adversity. No one has been given the opportunity to write the story of being a legend and a love maker and an inspirational bringer, a bringer of the light, than you. So once you get to a point to say, in fact, in part of the book, I heard he wrote, when anything happens in life, say, thank you, God, become what he calls a yes sayer. Say yes to it rather than why is this happening to me? Say yes to it. I know I called this in to my life for a reason. And then once you go through that process of finding meaning, now sometimes a coach can help you find that meaning, a mentor, a friend, a family member, to your point, who's not going to just keep you in that depression, but instead say, hey, let's look at the depression and let's look at what is going on behind it that might be able to serve you or serve others. Because that meaning, finding meaning in that suffering, what most people find is that meaning in some way, shape, or form is going to end up being of service. That might be being a teacher, a doctor, a fireman, someone who discovers something in the medicine field, a coach, a YouTuber. Most of the time, that's what the suffering has brought forth in us, especially if we have refused that mission. If we know in the mind, a lot of people, they kind of had that calling, the call to adventure, but they've been afraid to step into it. Oh, people are going to laugh. I'll only fail. Rather than saying, hey, no, you're going to be supported. And that whole process, to me, is such now. So when things happen that hurt, again, I'm not saying that I still don't shed tears of pain. I'm not saying that I'm this Zen guy. But now I'm able to go in and allow those feelings to lay upon me, but I don't become those emotions. I allow them to lay upon me for the gifts and the wisdom that they brought, and acceptance. And now I can step away from the emotions much quicker. And I say I like to walk the shoreline of the spiritual bay and look at all the gifts from that storm that came in. When the storm leaves, just like a storm on a regular ocean, things are left up along the bay. So if you have the courage to be a yes-sayer to your life storms, and once they go away, you walk along your spiritual shoreline and you will pick up all the gifts of wisdom, all the gifts of deeper compassion and empathy, all the gifts of service, all the gifts of knowledge, all the gifts of clarity. And then you'll say, thank you for that storm, rather than why did it happen to me?
Yes, and that's why you have to look inside, aside from within. So you know that the answer is not coming out there, it's coming inside. And that you are guided.
Absolutely. I mean, enlightenment is obviously a big topic. And I think a lot of people look when they hear the word enlightenment and they kind of think of it being a Buddhist or a yogi somewhere sitting in India up on a mountain, and that, oh, that's really, enlightenment. And sure, that's a form of it. But enlightenment is a lot. I love you say simple, because another book that I love is a book called Simple But Deep, because I like to say that's my spiritual philosophy, which is simple but deep. Because enlightenment is not this foreign complex term. Really what enlightenment is just kicking off the dust, the dirt, the grime that our spiritual selves has accumulated from social conditioning, family, religious, advertising. And we've gotten all this muck. When kids come into the world, they are so close to source. And that's, I always say be around kids. We can get to that later, being childlike. But really what enlightenment is getting to that point where you find a way, again, whether that is through scripture, reading, a coach, a mentor, a friend, of chipping away from all that dirt and all that muck that is keeping you from the reality of who it is that you really are. Because at the end of the day, as Abraham said, I am. And anything that you say after the words, the two most powerful words actually put together in the dictionary is I am, because anything you place after that is a creative force.
It's something you are not.
Yeah, 100%. And once you can get to that point, enlightenment really is any time that we can, any moment that we relinquish the ego. So many people think that, oh, ego. Enlightenment is the reduction, actually, if I really want to get to a simple term, it's just the reduction of the ego. Because the more we reduce it, the more we see that separation doesn't exist. For instance, the great illusion right now is that there are two separate people having this discussion. There aren't. We are one. And the more that we can become enlightened to see that, competition starts to fade. Fear, anger, judgment melts away. There's no need for it. We celebrate differences rather than, oh, you're a different color. You have different beliefs than me. You're Republican, Democrat, gay, lesbian. Those things don't even matter. Instead, you say, God, that's so beautiful that you chose to come down here and to create something for me to be in awe of.
That's because you got this personal mind. The personal mind is so much smaller. You can't see that big like the universal mind. The universe mind is like everyone are a part of it, the source. And the personal mind it's more small. So we can be stuck in that and we can't see that it's so much more.
Yeah, once that veil of illusion of separation starts to lift, I think that and then true enlightenment starts to happen. It changes you in such a magnificent way. As Jesus the Christ said himself, one of the things we're doing here is creating heaven on earth. See, heaven is not a place, it's a space. People always want to talk about other realms. Everything is vibration. As we know, everything is energy. So it's all about our vibration, and the frequency. So for instance, love, compassion, empathy, those are high vibrations. Anger, rage, sadness, despair, those are lower vibrational rays. So as soon as we can get to a point where everything's vibration, the second that we match our vibration to what it is that we want, then that's what we get. I like to say, like, it's no different than a radio. Think of it as a radio. When back in the old days, when we had to use a knob to find a radio station, we'd have to go through a lot of stations. It would be static sometimes, right? And then a station would kind of come in a little bit, but not. And then finally, you would hit a station that came in clear. It was playing the exact music that you wanted. And then everyone in the car starts singing and dancing. It's our life and the way we manifest is the exact same way. The second that we get to that same energetic vibration and to the match of what it is we desire, just like that radio station, it comes in clear, sounded clear, and then what it is we desire to manifest literally starts showing up into our lives. And we all have the ability to do that. That's the thing. It's not some mystical woo-woo thing.
We all feel energy. We all feel it. It's in the room. We can all feel it, and we can also feel when someone are in the personal mind and not closely to the source. Then we get more low energy. It takes some more light from the room, the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny. We have two minds. I love Albert Einstein. One of my favorite quotes is we have two minds. One is a gift, and one is a servant. And we we forget one. The gift mind is the subconscious. We have two minds. We've got your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is our direct connection to source. It literally is. It's imagination, if you want to call it that. That when you're in an imagination state, that's why again Albert Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Think about that. One of the smartest men ever to live said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Why? Because he knew imagination is our subconscious mind in motion. That's what emotion is energy in motion. So the second that we have a thought and we combine it with emotion, energy in motion, it sends that out, just like again the radio station, it sends that out into the universe, into what's called the quantum field. Now with quantum physics, the top scientists, even the ones that don't really adhere to quote unquote spirituality, they have proven this quantum field that's all around us. Now, our naked eye this is an interesting stat. Our naked eye can only see 0.1% of the electromagnetic spectrum all around us. Not 1%, 0.1%. The rest of everything around us is invisible to our naked eye. So imagine what happens once you start to get that veil down and can start to see even 1% of the things around us. Awe and wonder become your daily walking mantra. When you say stop and smell the roses, you don't just stop to smell them. You stop and really look. Eckhart Tolle, the writer of The Power of Now, the famous book, he tells in the beginning of that book this story that I love. When he started to become enlightened, he was taking a walk one day and he looked on the park. He looked up and he saw a tree, but he didn't just stop and smell the roses or look at the tree. The illusion of separation completely vanished, and he became the tree. He was able to, because trees are one of the most magical entities on the planet, but he was able to literally become the tree and feel the love, feel the natural connection, because trees have those roots underground that connect everything. And he ended up going and sitting on a park bench for weeks. He lost his job because he didn't even care about job or basic fundamental things. I'm not saying to go quit your job and go sit on a bench for weeks, but the point is that once you have that moment where separation evolves, and again, really enlightenment is just the reduction of the ego. So you see that the oneness, that we are all really just a unique emanation of the one God mind, the grand creator, source, infinite intelligence. And once we can kind of live from that perspective, every single moment becomes magic. I usually end all my texts to my friends. Maybe this is why I need more friends. And I say, I'll start on Monday. I'll send text to all my friends. And I always end it saying, may this week you see glimpses of magic and more than experiences of miracles. Because I believe that if every single day we woke up and set ourselves up for magic and miracles rather than for fear and anxiety, man, that is a game changer. Once you wake up and say a prayer, it doesn't have to be long, but you just sit down, literally bow your head, and you say, today, whatever you name it, God, source, Buddha, I am an allowance of magic and miracles in my life. And then feel that. Just feel, pick something that causes you to feel magic in your life, a past experience, and call it in for 2 minutes. Open your eyes and walk out the door with that perspective. Because let me tell you something, once you set the world up and you tell your source that you are open and that you have cut off all resistance to the magic and miracles that it wants to send you every single day, I'm getting shivers just talking about it. All of a sudden synchronicities happen. Opportunities pop up where closed doors were before. New friends pop up and invite you to things. People you haven't heard from in ages call you up. Someone that you haven't seen since high school sends you something on Facebook. And all of a sudden, magic and miracles is no longer this foreign concept that people in the woo-woo business want to sell you. It becomes your natural play state. Think about that.
When it was COVID, I had my wake up from the deep space that I was in. I was in my mind thinking very dark things, and then I have this wake up insight. And when I came home from the hospital and I went out in the nature with my dogs, I thought it was the corona. I thought maybe the sky has been so beautiful because of no airplane is going over here. So maybe the nature can be more, rest. So I thought it was that. I started to see things that I have never seen in that way. I live down the beach, so I have been there a lot with my dogs, but I have never seen all this beauty.
Well, first of all, do you live near the beach? If so, can you adopt me? I do toilets. I paint, whatever you need. So you live by the well, lucky you, first of all. And yeah, it sounds like you have experienced that, that awe and wonder. I forget the coach's name. I love sports. I believe it was Frosty Newberger. He was a coach of a Lutheran college football team in the state of Oregon. I think 9 years in a row, they won their conference. So he was very, very successful. Well, Oregon's my favorite state in the United States. It is beyond gorgeous. You want to talk about awe and wonder. One of the things that's so great about it, especially Portland, Oregon, is that it's framed by the three of the largest mountains in the United States, Mount Hood, Mount Rainier. So their practice facility was right at the foothills of Mount Rainier, one of the most glorious mountains in the United States. So one thing that he would love to do with awe and astonishment is in the middle of practice, if the guys were getting frustrated or things weren't going well, he would blow his whistle and he would look to Mount Rainier and say, "Attaboy, Mount Rainier, you go." And he would have all of his players go out and say, "Yeah, Mount Rainier, yeah." And he wanted to get them into an aspect of getting out of their heads of the football and just taking in this amazing view that most people would pay $1 million for to see one time. And they were blessed enough that it was in their backyard of their stadium. And I just thought that story, I always think about that sometimes whenever I'm down, is to just look up and just give a shout out to the universe for the beauty that's all around us, rather than wanting to see all of the bad stuff, if that makes sense.
You can't see it when you're up in your head. You think you see a lot of stuff, but when you are thinking all the time, you can go what do you call it, on the road, and there are the houses, but you can't see them. You don't, you're up in your head. You get the story up there, and I have been going in this area for a couple of times, but I haven't seen the houses and the nature in that way. That I haven't seen the animals in that way either.
No, it's an amazing thing when you get to that point, like I said, where you're magic. And so a couple things, with regards to that too. So I will be 54 in October, and again, humbled, but I actually, on a dating site, I had to change my age to 46 because people, and the pictures I had on there, I had just taken them. I had just done a photo shoot. And women were contacting me saying that they didn't believe that I was almost 54, and those pictures couldn't have been right. So I get a lot of times where people are like, "I can't believe that you're almost 54," and so what is your secret? Now, obviously, genes plays a role, taking care of yourself. I'm a pescatarian. I don't drink, but I will tell you one thing that everyone can do that will keep your physical form young, and that is to be childlike. Now, not childish, big difference, but be childlike. Go play. If you haven't been around kids, or if you don't have kids, go somewhere and where you can be around kids, whether that's relatives that have them or what have you. Kids have this awe and wonder where they do see everything around them. Because again, they're closer to source than we are. They have not been social conditioned yet, where the beautiful nature and the source, that they are everything and they are the grand creator themselves, that hasn't been knocked out of them yet. So when you play with them, they look at everything in that space. And if you can do that, so for instance, with me, I'm kind of like the cool uncle, I guess, if you will, the fun uncle, I should say that. So I'm the type of guy, we have people over, I do voices and characters. If we're playing a board game, I'll literally come up as a character and I'll stay in character the whole entire time. And the kids love it. And that's why I do it. But not only does it serve them, it serves me because I can just stay in this. Well, you even look at my background here. If you can see, I have posters up of superhero posters. I even have a Wolverine shirt on. So, a lot of people, oh, what are you doing in your 50s wearing comic book shirts and so forth? And again, I have clothes to dress up in suits and stuff, but I think if we can just keep a childlike perspective where we see everything. Well, again, I know I keep saying Albert Einstein, in the universe, you have two options. You can think everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. Those are the only two ways that you can really live. I don't know about you. I've gotten to the point where I choose to see everything a miracle. And that is a game changer.
Yeah. And I when I was in my darkest place, well, it is 3 years ago, 3.5, I had my grandchild came.
Oh.
And that was a gift, a really big gift, because that also changed a lot, to see that, oh, here's something new, something fresh, something, and when you hold the baby and you look in their eyes and you smell them, and you just feel them, and something happens with you, and you got this beautiful feelings, and we are together a lot. She have been here now for 2 days, so she just left. So we have been playing for two days now, and we do that a lot, and it's good for me. I know that, like you say, they are closer to the source. So I forgot to tell the topic today, and about what we're talking about now. Let life surprise you. And we never know what's coming when we look in the direction like a child do. They are surprising us with things all the time, new things, and to live life a little more like that, and not take it so serious, because we got all this stuff we need to work and earn money. We need to have some place to stay. We have to cooperate with people, and yeah, the society isn't easy. The life isn't easy sometimes, but if we can look it like a child does, it's a change. Even if it doesn't work all the time. I know it doesn't. We all got these low moods, but it's a direction to look.
No, well, first of all, congratulations on your goddaughter, correct?
Yeah, granddaughter.
God bless you for that. And then also, and I know you're humble, but I want to acknowledge you for everything that you've been through, and having the courage and the insight and the fortitude and the perseverance to overcome that. And now to, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you've been able to find some meaning in your suffering. And now look at you, you've started a YouTube show, and you're spreading gifts and spreading inspiration and love, insight around the world. So let's say a golf clap for you.
Thank you, and for you too.
Because you have such a radiant,
we do this together.
Soul. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you another thing. I have a couple blog posts that I've actually written on tips to live a life of awe and astonishment. So when you said that was going to be the topic today, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But another thing is laughter. The great poet, sage Rumi, another one of my favorite quotes is, when everything is said and done and you have transitioned back to source, you will laugh deeply at how seriously you took it all. Now, I'm not saying, like we said before, that means that, to be enlightened or spiritual or have a spiritual practice means that you don't get sad, that you don't have anger and rage, that you don't feel down or hopeless, because we are human being or spiritual beings having a human experience, and that is part of the experience. The important thing, like I say, is it's kind of like, let's say an emotion is a house for sale. It's okay to go in and check the house out and kick the bones and so forth, but just don't move in to those emotions. Don't become sadness. Allow sadness to be on you. And one of the best ways to not allow some of these more hurtful, negative, lower vibrational energies to overcome us is just laughter. So what I try and do on my Facebook posts is 4 to 5 of the posts every day are ones that make me just get a deep belly laugh. And I always ask Spirit before I start looking for them every day. I say, please help me find some for laughter. And because the famous Deepak Chopra, he actually said that laughter has healed and cured more diseases than all the medication that has ever been created. Think about that.
I asked a psychiatrist when I was in the hospital, because we were sitting in a dining room and we were seeing a comedy, and we were laughing. The patients were laughing, and I was, oh, why am I doing that? I was supposed to be depressed, but I started to laugh. So I get a little, am I depressed when I can do that? And that's just how it is with feelings and emotions. When you're not thinking about it, when you're not up in it, you can put on a movie and just step back from that and just laugh to the comedy. And that's,
yeah, I was this former stand-up comedian. I actually I had a near-death experience, which is something maybe I'll be lucky enough to be invited back. So if so, we can kind of go through that.
Yes, you are.
When oh good. So I went to Hollywood, and I had wanted to be a comedic actor because I felt at that time that making people laugh was a way I could really be of service to other people, until they said I had a face for radio. No, I'm teasing. But yeah, that, to me, just finding some space or some place, a movie, or just being around people that just, make you laugh, that's one thing to have to live and allow life to surprise you. Gratitude is a big one. I think we get so, myself too, this is something I still really need to work on. We sometimes get so caught up in wanting to complain about the things that are going wrong or that didn't show up in our life the way our mind's eye had planned it, rather than looking around and having gratitude for all the things that we do have that are going right. So I do it, and I tell all my clients that Oprah, in fact, Winfrey herself, she said, when someone said, what if you could give one piece of advice? This is Oprah Winfrey. If you could give one piece of advice to everyone as far as your success, a secret to your success, do you know what she said? It was her gratitude journal. She said her life took off the moment that she started a daily, nightly practice of writing in a journal of all the things she was grateful for that happened during that day. So who's going to argue with Oprah, right? So I do it. So I do a gratitude journal. Every night I tell my clients to do one as well, because once you can get to that state where, again, looking for magic and miracles, being in the flow, being in allowance. But once you also, just get into a mindset habit. And by the way, real quick, as an offside, a lot of people, there's this misnomer that it's 21 days to create a new habit. And that is not true. That was actually a old wives' tale that came across in the 1950s when plastic surgery was first becoming in vogue. And doctors found that it took on average 21 days for the women to get to a place where they could go out in public and no longer have to bandage their face. And somehow that got transformed into, it takes 21 days to create a new habit. They actually, about 15 years ago, did a study in a Harvard University study, and they found it 66 days on average is what you have to do something until it becomes a habit. So for instance, with the gratitude journal, if you can get yourself to do it every day for 66 days, roughly, it will become a habit where rather than you even have to think about it, you won't be able to go to bed at night until you do it. It's just as it's a little another thing, a little nugget of for all and inspiring. So no, I think this topic is so important, and you know, I think if the whole world could just, like I said, just get to that point where we see, because here's the other thing, when we get into allowing life to surprise us, we're in a completely different vibrational state. And again, everything is vibration, because when we're at that state, it is so much harder for judgment to enter that vibration, for hate to enter that vibration, for grief to enter that vibration. And the longer you do it, the more it becomes a natural habit. We talked again about having two minds, our subconscious mind and our conscious mind. Here's another thing. Our subconscious mind is 5,000 times more powerful, because again, it's the mind that's connected straight to source, than our conscious mind. Yet, 90% of us, our entire lives are governed by our conscious mind. As Albert Einstein said, we forget about the gift of the two minds, which is the subconscious mind. So then we start getting into this program where literally there are people who, based on evidence that they see and you living with habitually through your conscious mind, they can predict what your life is going to be throughout the rest of your life, because your life starts becoming a predictable, measured, predictable outcomes. Where if we instead, and listen, our conscious mind has its place. It's what keeps the heart beating. It's what keeps us breathing when we're sleeping at night. So the conscious mind is obviously incredibly important. But if you become a slave to the conscious mind is what sees separation. It's what's, oh, I have to get more because there's not enough. I don't like that guy because his skin color is darker than mine. I don't like this person because they're transgender. Our subconscious mind doesn't even acknowledge that. It doesn't see separation at all. It is connected to the quantum field, source energy, if you want to call it that, and that is its playground. So if you can start, but here's the thing, how do you tap into the subconscious mind? How do you get away from the conscious mind? Meditation.
To be more open.
Best ways.
Start to be more open.
Be more open, listening to music. Music has such a high vibration. But I think, starting some sort of a meditation. And again, meditation sometimes, I think, for some people can become this out there topic of, oh, I can't sit, I can't quiet my mind, I can't. But, I think if, like anything else, you start with small steps and you go into it. Now I like to do waking meditation, where I get to that space where when I meditate, I pull that emotion out and I let it lay upon me as I go out my day. And that is a way, because when we're in meditation, we are connecting to the subconscious mind, or anytime that you are in an imagination, a state of imagination. So for instance, the 30 minutes that you wake up, excuse me, let me get this off screen. The 30 minutes that you wake up every morning and the 30 minutes that you go to bed every night is called the power hour. The power hour, because your subconscious mind is most influenced the first 30 minutes you wake up and the 30 minutes before you go to bed. That is when you can impress upon the subconscious mind what you want to, what you desire, how you want to feel, what it is that you're definitely being more enlightened and allowing that veil of a separation to completely eradicate. So that's why it's so important to have at least a 30-minute practice, spiritual practice of some sort every single morning. And when I work with my clients, that's the first thing I do is I ask them, what do you do in the morning? Because what I find is most people don't have a spiritual practice at all. The first thing they do is reach for this. That is probably the worst thing that you can do. Yet, would you not agree that most people, that's probably the first thing that they do nowadays? And my thing is, I don't allow my clients to touch their phone for the first 30 minutes that they wake up, which I know people will say, what, I have emails, this, that, or the other. Trust me, there is very little time in which, waiting an extra 30 minutes is not going to ruin things. But if you can instead start your day, again, with that meditation we talked about at the beginning of the episode, where you say a quick prayer, a mantra. Today, I'm going to be in full allowance of magic and miracles to empower my life. Just even that, rather than getting up, checking your phone, instantly getting anxious because you're like, oh my gosh, my boss emailed me 3 times, and oh my gosh, I have a doctor's appointment that I missed, or whatever it may be. If instead you set yourself up for success rather than failure during a morning ritual, game changer. And then the same thing at night. What do most people do 30 minutes before they go to bed? They watch the daggone news.
I do.
Okay.
I do that. But when you watch, you said the news, but I mean the telephone, and when I do that, I compare to people when I go out in Instagram or Facebook, and then all the bad feelings. So I know the answer. Don't go there, because that's not the nice feeling. You can't find a nice feeling there when you compare. But it's easy to do that.
And listen, I'm not saying, again, I'm not perfect in all these things. One of the things that I love about being a coach is that my client, I consider everybody is my teacher and everybody is my student.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you how much I learn from my clients, or people, even like I said, who DM me on Facebook. It's amazing. Sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting paid to learn more about how to live life in a more blissful manner. This is amazing.
Because the one you're going to coach are going to have their own insights. You just hold their hands, make a space, and then they need to find that in themselves. You can 100%. Only get an insight from within.
Yeah, when I was getting in the Master's in Spiritual Psychology program, the very first day, there was 276 of us in the program. And the very first day, there was a huge chalkboard. And the 2 teachers went up and they're writing on this chalkboard, we're all like, what are they writing? This is what they wrote. They said, this is, after this program, this is what we hope everyone walks away with. The greatest teachers take someone and show them their truth without them feel as though they were ever being led. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it is.
So as a coach, to your point, that's what you try and do is, I have different paradigms and different techniques and so forth, but every person is individual. So I don't have one of these one size fits all programs. The first couple sessions, it's just about getting to know the person, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And then I just apply things and I change things up along. My coaching programs are 6 months long, because everybody is so, individual and special and unique. But you're right, when you can get to a point where you're just holding space really for someone, the answers come. And I'll tell you, it is amazing sometimes what can happen. It doesn't even have, I've been able to kind of take this feeling and this paradigm and transfer it over into, even in the dating world, with family, of just, of how to create a safe, loving, caring space. And again, that taps right into that same source that we're all connected to, that we're all one with. But once we get into full allowance and remembrance of who we really are, because as Abraham said, I am, what God told him is, what is his name? I am. Really what that means is, I am God. And that's not blasphemous sometimes when people first hear that. That's because I'm not saying I am God. You, as are you, as is everyone who's watching today. You are, or if the word God, if you feel uncomfortable with that, you can say, I am love. Because what is God ultimately? He is the frequency of love.
And I can say that I couldn't see none of this in the beginning. I just, what, me? Yeah. I thought, oh, they're crazy talking about this. But when you go deeper and deeper and really put all the personal mind aside and go deeply to the source of who we are, then you can see that, oh, where comes the power from? What is it in me that starts everything? The heart to breathe, and everything in the body to function. What is that? What is the energy behind all this for us to live? And when I was going deeply in that, I could see that, wow, we got this power, every one of us. And it's in our animals, and it's in us, and it's in everything. The energy that put out the light.
Do you know where the word animal comes from?
No.
It's derived from the Greek anima, and anima means soul. So the word animal actually means soul. I love that.
Yeah.
But no, I think, in doing this work and being able to, like, for instance, so now when I meditate and I become, the deeper that I go, I have the practice now, and it's taken time for sure, where the deeper I go, I become no thing, no one, no place, no name, no job, no body, no accolades. I literally let any aspect of separation from source to just dissipate. And the feeling now, and I was able to just do that briefly just now. I'm going to tell you something. Once you tap into that, it is like a combination of the best sex you've ever had, the best food you've ever had, the hardest laugh you've ever had, witnessing the birth of your child for the first time, getting that dream job, having that dream girl call you, all at once. All that wrapped in love. And if that's not something you want to shoot for, I don't know what to tell you. But I thank you so much for having me on. It's been lovely to talk to you. You're very, you create such a safe space for me. I know I'm a talker.
You. I love to speak with you. It's very, yeah.
Well, good. I've enjoyed it too. And so for anyone who is out there who's interested in, I have a blog. I think I may have talked about that. It's called The New Age Nerd. And so you can just go to that www.thenewagenerd or jeffreylouismartinez.blogspot.com. You go to my Facebook page, Jeffrey Louis Martinez, send me a friend request. I'll get back to you. And you can follow me on there. Like I said, we're getting a huge community and family of people who, on the days that when I wake up, that, after my first 30 minutes that I post, I start getting DMs from everyone saying, where are the posts today? I need the posts today. And it makes me feel so good that, again, small gestures, putting up a Facebook post.
And soon you're going to start this podcast, and then you invite me.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to space you. I already booked you. I already sent you an invite.
Yeah, that's good.
I had the phone underneath here. I've already got you booked.
Yeah.
So I'm starting very soon a show called the Buddha Bro podcast. It'll be a YouTube show as well. And basically it's more of what you've just kind of heard today. I also do stuff. I love modern mythology, because modern mythology is infused with the songs of the universe. How many times have you watched a movie or a TV show and they were going through something that you were going through, or you got inspired by what the characters were going through, or you got meaning from it? because as Joseph Campbell said, that's where I pulled the quote from, modern myth carries the songs of the universe, the maps back to ourselves. So on the show also sometimes, hopefully we're going to get some of the media makers to kind of question them with regards to the messages that they've put in their films and how we can incorporate those in their lives. I do the same thing on my blog. I will have certain posts where I'll break down a movie like The Matrix or The Empire Strikes Back. I'll take certain scenes and I'll break it down of how you can take that wisdom and incorporate it in your own life, so that hopefully it's not just rote spiritual stuff. It's fun, because at the end of the day, as we talked about, it's all about having fun and laughing and just being in bliss. I think at the end of the day, if someone said, Jeff, what is a good life? One, I would say, because again, my motto is be super heroic, love, serve, inspire. But I think the other thing is just bliss. Whatever makes you feel bliss or joy, follow it. It will never, ever lead you astray if you just do that.
Follow the good, nice feeling.
Oh my goodness. And once we can generate, because again, feeling is the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does not know words. It doesn't understand words. It only understands images and feelings. The conscious mind goes off of words. So that's why it's so important to constantly during the day check in with yourself of how are you feeling, where are your thoughts at, so that you can kind of recalibrate. And just, again, if you do that roughly 66 days, if you do that as a beginning spiritual practice, I would tell anyone, if someone said, Jeff, how would I start my own spiritual practice? I think that's probably the thing I would say is start a habit where during the day you do self check-ins. And you check in with yourself. And you can do this if you're in a job, go to the restroom for a moment or during your lunch break and check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What's caused you to feel that way? How can you generate a new, more empowering feeling? And then check in with your thoughts. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? Is the thought true? How do I know it's true? If it's not true, pick another one. Another thought that's more empowering. If you just do those two things, that is a beautiful beginning to a spiritual practice.
And I will say also to slow down to the speed of life, because life is more silent and not that busy like our mind is going around with us. So just take a break, take a slow down.
You know what? I'll incorporate that into what I'd say, because you're 100% right. Kind of circling back to let life surprise you and awe and wonder. Stop and smell the roses, and like we talked offline.
Take a coffee.
Yeah, it's and again, stop and smell the roses is not just you hear that all the time, but what is that really, or what can it be? What can that be? That can be stopping and just seeing, a tree. For instance, I know I needed to work on this. Sometimes you will go down the same street driving to work or driving to a friend's house 5,000 times. But to your point, if this time you say, no, you know what? I'm going to get out of my conscious mind and I'm just going to be awareness, just awareness. You will all of a sudden see trees and bushes and flowers and squirrel nests that you never saw before, even though you drove down that street 5,000 times.
And houses on the same street you live, you have never seen them before, like I did.
You know how many people you could probably stop and say, how many houses are even on the street across from you, or what color is the house across from you, that they probably couldn't tell you? They probably couldn't say. Well, if you said, what color are the shutters?
I have no idea.
and you could have lived across from them for 10 years.
It was me.
Oh, me too.
Sometimes still.
I do it too, but I think to piggyback on what you said, because that was brilliant. I think slowing down and just getting out of the conscious mind and just going into awareness and saying, I'm not going to think, I'm just going to be aware. And all of a sudden, now don't do an Eckhart Tolle where all of a sudden you sit up on a park bench for weeks. But but just that practice, it's beautiful. So thank you for adding that to what I said. That's perfect.
Thank you so much for today, and you will come back soon. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll be back
Big
after
love.
dinner. I'll come back after dinner. How's that? Peace and blessings to you. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Yeah, namaste. Thank you.